Hey guys, what's going on? Valk here, and today I have a bit of a different video for you guys. So, in the new patch, we got, outside of FCC buff being cancelled, a lot of new units to play with, and one of these new units really takes the cake. It was the clear winner of the patch, and after we found this draft in pretty much about 5 days of casual playing, like I'll say about 2 hours, we went up 350 points. And this is through disconnect, really bad RNG, and it's like if you play this composition, it's almost impossible not to win. So it's going to be a bit of a different format. Let's go over the stats, what the builds are, do some of the drafts, and then I'll talk my way through some of the games and just see if this format works. So if you like this format and you think this is something you'd be down to watch more of in the future and the view count is good, the likes are good, I'll make more in the future for other similar drafts that I find. But without further ado, let's get into the strongest unit of this patch. Now, if you thought I was going to say just because units got buffed, we're going to talk about a buff unit, that was a trick question. No, we're talking about Urban Shadow Choux, and the patch gave her an exclusive equipment. And the effect is actually, it's very short and simple. It gives her 1 turn worth of stealth, and that gives her one very important thing. There are now not a lot of ways to be able to pick her off if you are a tank down player. This gives her insanely good matchups in compositions like Young Senya, Empyrean Illinak, because she doesn't rely on penetration, all of her damage is fixed, and she's just a solid unit in general, super annoying, super sticky. You build her, generally speaking, high HP, medium to high crit damage, and a good bit of defense. I would say mine right now is more of an aggressive build that's meant to push the tempo. She gets more speed, and the artifact you really want to run here is Sweet Miracle, because one of her biggest weakness is crowd control. She could get stunned, she could get slowed, like different things could just harm her damage output because she wants to take turns again and again and again, and this is one of the few things that holds her back. So being able to shed debuffs all on her own is really nice. Having extra HP not only bolsters her damage because she scales with HP, but also she gets a hell of a lot tankier because with about yay much HP, we end up at 26,500 HP, and that's a lot with this amount of crit damage. Now, the common character you're going to be playing her with is something like a Lone Wolf Payra. Lone Wolf Payra, you could build anything, right? This is just probably the most underrated opener we got in a while, right? Day one, nobody could agree or disagree whether she's good, she's bad. People were kind of throwing opinions all over the place, right? Some people thought this is like an irreplaceable character, able to break the game wide open. Other people thought she'd be so bad she's not playable. But I'll have the math up on the screen. She just generates so much combat readiness. And if you didn't hear my opinion on this previously, I'll talk about this now. I think combat readiness is the most important stat in the game. Everybody knows speed is good, but why the hell do you build speed? You build speed to generate combat readiness. That's what speed is for. And the more speed you have, the better she is. If you can't go yay fast, if you're newer, you're lower ranked, whatever it is, right? You can just go for a slower build, and once again, if you're slower, it doesn't really hurt you. You can just use a Sweet Miracle. And if you're down Sweet Miracle and you really need to be able to play her, you can go for an effect resistance build. Guys like Lighty7 and Tristan Wolf are all playing this build to a high degree of success, and she's just rapidly become a staple first pick in RTA. And I think it's easy to see why she's so highly valued as a unit. She just generates so much combat readiness in her entire rotation that even through a CR cutter like a Abyssal Euphine or even a Red Politis, she's still generating more combat readiness than a character like Frida in her entire combo, who is, considered a very high tempo support. And her ability to, have build damage, if you're running a Uberius Tooth build, hell, she's even a DPS unit. She could close out some matches. Like, she outputs incredible damage, especially when that defense break sticks, and you see that extra tick damage go through. She just closes out games. This is an excellent unit. So if, you listen and you weren't one of those guys like, oh, these content creators don't know what they're talking about, congratulations. You didn't skip another essential unit. Now, if you don't have a Lone Wolf Payra, well, hopefully you were around for the Headhunt event, in which case you should have picked up a Sea Phantom Politis. This is the other good support. Now, both of these characters would like to be fast, but if you're not fast, you're like, I'm only 280 speed, I'm only 290 speed, that's fine. I think 280 speed is enough to play for champion, and if you're 290, that should be smooth Emperor for you. And the reason they're good is because either they're stealth or they have evasion, so they can't really be stopped by characters like Zeo, and if they try to stop you with a faster character like Ran or Blue Pera, then you drop the Zeo back on them, right? It's like a rock, paper, scissor relationship in that sense. And the reason why Sea Phantom here is a really excellent backup, you always want to make sure you have one of these characters, is because both of these characters do an excellent job of supporting Urban Shadow Choux. At best case scenario, when you have Sea Phantom Politis, is you disable a lot of defensive units. They can't play Focus, they can't play Fighting Spirit, and you get dual attacks with your highest attack character. In the ideal scenario, you have a better DPS unit that you are enabling, and if not, worst case scenario, you have Urban Shadow Choux, who gets combat readiness, which gives her more turns, which in turn is more damage. So there's a lot of inherent synergy going on. So now that you know about the units, let's look at some of the matches. So this will be the first match we look at. My opponent starts the draft with Lone Wolf Pera. So that's already a little bit of a wrench in our plan here. We game plan wise, we prefer having the Pera. So we're gonna have to use a fallback. So we play Sea Phantom Politis here, and preceded by Urban Shadow Choux. Your onus on picking Urban Shadow Choux is anytime you know you are not getting cleaved. My opponent here has, guys, I'm gonna break out of my, break character here for a second. If you see your opponent ban something like BBK, for example, they are not going to cleave you because that is a character they want for cleave. And likewise, my opponent knows I'm not cleaving because I banned Red Flan. You guys know, ever since the patch, I've been playing a good amount of Standard again. And as you play Standard, banning Red Flan is just one of the most comfortable things you can do. Red Flan tends to run over compositions a little bit too much. So I banned Red Flan, BBK's out. These are two of the best cleave characters. So I know for a fact I'm not getting cleaved, right? Sea Phantom Poly comes out, Urban Shadow comes out, and we're looking at a pretty even game. My opponent replies with a Euphine. A Euphine is super important to take for him because a Euphine's main job is to hold combat readiness push. If he didn't take it, I would have taken her on 3, maybe on 4. So because of how much combat readiness Lone Wolf Pera generates, either you want to take away the Euphine from a counter pick, or from my perspective, I really like to have her. ML Luna is really good here because both my characters have very deadly passives. ML Luna is always a solid character. Even if you're not using her to play fast, you can just spam S2 all day. It's a lot of damage coming through. So from my spot, Infinite Horizon Acades is going to come out. There's not that many good answers to ML Luna. You could go Laia here, but then you're weak to being comboed, right? Like, he could go Luna into CR push into cleave. He already has 2 openers, and if both of them are faster than me, then I'm in a lot of trouble. So I don't really want to play a Laia. Infinite Horizon Acades is a skill matchup versus Luna. What it means is the better player, the player with the other good units, right? Because it turns into a 3v3. The reason it's a 3v3 is Luna can never press S3, Acades can never press S3, it's basically a game of chicken. And they're just pressing S2 at each other all day. Acades gets her turn a little bit more often, Luna does AoE splash damage, which Acades can't really keep up with. And in this case, having Guardian Ice Crystals is super important. Albedo is the best tank in the game. I know the moment I picked Acades, I have 2 non-attack characters. Green Celine is coming. Versus anywhere near decent opponents, and you have 2 non-attacking supports, they're going to drop Green Celine on you, no doubt, right? And my opponent's an Emperor, so I have to respect that. I need to draft the best tank in the game right now, Albedo, and lo and behold, Green Celine does come, so no surprises there. But his last pick kind of throws me in for a loop, Death Dealer Ray. Death Dealer Ray on pick 5 is usually super deadly. So this is kind of what happens. Death Dealer Ray and ML Luna, right? They used to be like the cream of the crop RTA units. But in this specific scenario, with like their units, their hard counters release, right? And I say that with air quotes, you can't see it. But Infinite Horizon Acades versus Luna is kind of like a 3v3. DDR versus Schneel is a 3v3. I don't have room to pick a Schneel here. If I pick Schneel, well, then what if he bans it, right? So, as a second pick player, my best option is always decide on the ban first, and then choose your pick, right? And that usually forces him to ban it, and if he doesn't ban it, you can carry the game. Janua is good. I'm not worried about getting sealed because I should be able to match this. And his two main DPSs, you know, Green Selene doesn't match up well into him, and neither does Abyssal Euphine, so he has to ban Janua. Let's get into the game.
It's hollow justice at best.
So, no surprises here. His Luna goes first, and she's quite a bit faster than my ML Poly. But with Acades just creeping up the combat readiness bar slowly, he's going to need an S2. Just do it for the splash damage. Lace it a bit into her, and the protection set absorbs everything. See Phantom Poly goes. I'm just going to take the risk here and press the S3, push the Selene out, let her activate. And this is almost like a blessing in disguise. It goes into the Albedo, which is great, except I had a feeling he was gonna just go into her, but barely tanky enough to hang on. I don't think my tank gear is that crazy or that insane, so it's barely okay, you know. That's a good pick there. Right, we're gonna get a bit of her HP back with that barrier. Guardian Ice Crystal keeps us safe. ML Choux gets her turn. You want to get the snowball rolling. She's a very snowball-y character. As you can see, we get that damage in, speed buff on our team, and we're ready to go. And, you know, I figure Albedo's not gonna be long for this world, so she's gonna leave the team a little bit of a present. We're gonna take a 50-50 into the Green Selene, hit the evasion, and strip the evasion buff. That's a little bit unfortunate there. Abyssal Euphine counterattacked with their Elbrus, but that's good news because we know she's on Elbrus Ritual Sword, so I don't have to worry about some kind of holy sacrifice shenanigan bullshit. Alright? Excellent. ML Paris gonna soul burn, defense break in. Two of my characters have pretty high effect resistance, so that doesn't really do anything. He lands a crit, which activates my Albedo, and that's even more damage into the Selene. And that's what we're really looking for. Green Selene, if she gets to stay alive, she outputs a whole lot of damage, right? My Infinite Horizon Acades is really coming up, so he cannot put her down. Yep, dual attack from Choux takes out the Selene. Suddenly, it's a 3.5 versus 3. I'm gonna keep holding the Acades, though. You want to hold the Acades for as long as the Luna still has S3. You know, sensing the defense break on the Choux, he is just going to soul burn that. Lots of damage coming through. And now, we use that to melt the Luna. Right? He gives us the window there. Unfortunately, his Elbrus is kind of going off a little bit, which isn't good. But, you know, I think we could still win out of this spot. It's fine, right? Urban Shadow Choux 5 focus. We're full. We're coming. He can't really stop that. Takes out my Albedo. That's normal decision-making process. But now we're still 3v2. I'm a little bit afraid. Yep, okay, I had attack down on the Choux, so I had a feeling I wasn't getting that dual attack. A little bit unfortunate, but now we push up the Choux. And we're just going to run the Choux completely into the Abyssal Euphine, right? We have full focus, my ultimate's reset. This is going to give me a lot of HP back on top of damage. And really good build from him. He actually survives. But I think mostly this is generally a winning spot, and from here we can just win out. But there's one important turn here. Right? We weren't going to get a dual attack there, so I didn't want to attack into the Euphine herself, right? It gives her one more stack. And even if we have Poly, you want to play as carefully as you can. Unfortunately, hey, he does counter. Oh, his counterattacks are really going off. So now my Poly's in danger, right? Thankfully, speed buff keeps us there. We cycle back to the S3, and, you know, without things going on another, you know, bad trip, we should be able to win. Right, Peyra does get her turn there, but I think we're okay. Like, I don't think Choux can lose out of this spot. We got speed buff on ourselves as well. He tries to close out the Sea Phantom Politis, and here, this is the really important turn, guys. instead of hitting into the Euphine, we know it's not Holy Sack. Let's just hit into that, use the fixed damage from the zap to take out the Euphine. Right, that way it's a lot safer of a play, right? We're risking Elber's Ritual Sword, which is a 20% counter instead of 30%. You can't control RNG, but you can control how you manipulate it. And that's how you close out one of these games. And also, this is the game where I hit Emperor. So the second game we're going to look at is going to be versus the green, well, the greens, there's two green Sen, the Young Senya draft. And in this case, this will be versus a very common opener you guys will see on the RTA ladder, Empyrean Illinev into Death Dealer Ray. And in this case, I'm going to showcase to you guys why Urban Shadow Choux is so good versus this draft. So my opponent opens the game by picking Empyrean Illinev, which is one of, if not the most oppressive first picks in the game, just because of that passive, right? She limits me from being able to play any damage penetration characters, whereas now my opponent gets to pick all of them, right? It's a very one-sided floodgate. So, you know, our game plan doesn't really change. Peyra into Choux, right? And he takes away the Death Dealer Ray. Death Dealer Ray is a very decent character. As long as he weathers the storm, he tanks out all the damage at stopping Urban Shadow Choux and ML Peyra, right? Because his main skill, you know, the one that he puts you to sleep with, is it doesn't attack. So it bypasses all of evasion. He puts you to sleep, and then when you're asleep, you know, you just get hit, right? You cannot evade when you're asleep. And before, I wasn't really a fan of this character, but now that I'm playing a lot of Urban Shadow Choux, I love playing Schneel. Schneel is known when he picked it versus Death Dealer Ray, especially on 3, is that he turns the match into a 3 versus 3. Now, you might think to yourself, well, that doesn't seem very good, 3 versus 3. But let me tell you what, Urban Shadow Choux is one of those bruisers where the more she gets left in a 1v1, so the less opponents she has to fight, the better she becomes, right? If you guys think about any game where there's a bruiser, the less opponents a bruiser has to fight, the better they are. The same is true in League of Legends. The same is true in Overwatch, right? When you have a character whose entire role is, I can take hits, but I can also hit back myself, right? It's the same in like Marvel Rivals, for example. The bruisers are always the best when it's a 3v3. They get better when it's 2v2. And oh boy, don't even mention those 1v1s. So Schneel versus Death Dealer Ray, and you have the Choux. That's how you know you're in it. Then my opponent kind of makes a mistake, right? He goes into his... He commits into his Young Senya when I have Sea Phantom Politis. So the rest of this match is kind of a non-factor, but I just wanted to show you guys how well you will do into these types of compositions when you are playing Urban Shadow Choux with Schneel versus Death Dealer Ray. And if you guys want to know what happened towards the end, he wanted to pick Green Celine because I have all of these non-attack skills, right? Especially with Schneel, Death Dealer Ray can just press any skill, force a Schneel to activate, and Green Celine goes off. I know I had to ban it, but I kind of wanted to get cute, you know? I kind of wanted to cook him a little bit. So I was like, oh, you know, I'm going to pick a Millum. Am I going to ban it? Am I not? Normally, guys, don't do that, all right? Do as I say, not as I do. It's one of the few times I'll say that. But because I was so ahead because he left Sea Phantom Poly to me, I kind of wanted to mess around a little bit. You know, we do be doing a little bit of trolling out here, all right? But this is, don't pick a counter to a unit and then ban the unit. I just thought it'd be funny if I did that, though. So, we open the match, and ML Peyra gets first turn, to no one's surprise. Right, and when you have this much of a open airspace, right, they're not racing you, they're not debuffing you, we know the Death Dealer Ray isn't debuffing anybody, you could just press every button. All of this turn generation is going to go a long way. And, you know, I noticed two things. Well, three things. 3 of these characters don't have immunity set. And guys, take note, this is where immunity set is super important. Imagine if I landed that defense break. That Alencia is losing all of her HP first turn. Sea Phantom is going to push this team back. Urban Shadow Choux, you know, I mean, every single unit is free game, right? We're going to start injuring the Alencia because the friendship buff might just be able to bring too much damage to me. And here, normally, you're supposed to hold the Schneel. Guys, when you play this matchup normally, don't S3, okay? Don't trigger the Young Senya. But because we got Sea Phantom Politis for free, the Young Senya won't activate. The Swift attack gives him another turn. Schneel gets infinite free value. Okay? So I push up the Empyrean Illinev. She's going to cleanse the slows. That's to be expected. Good bit of damage goes in onto the... Never mind. This is a tank Illinev. That's not doing any damage. So the moment I know that, we're just going to all in this Alencia. He's also putting out a little bit of damage onto the Schneel, which, great. I don't think you're killing him in time. He got his defense buff up. And now this becomes 3 stealth units behind one super tanky, I guess in this case, Schneel is a tank. He's not even a support anymore, right? And now he's forced to hit this Schneel, which is going to go nowhere, by the way. He's going to think about his Death Dealer Ray life choices for a bit.
The dark shroud of death.
And yeah, he's desperate here, so he's going to press. And it's not going to go well for him.
Consider this an honor.
Strips a good amount of buffs, puts all my characters to sleep, but, you know, Schneel is there, and that's why we picked him, right? It's the power of Schneel. I mean, you already triggered the Schneel, you might as well press S2, right? Give your team a little bit of combat readiness back. Fight that Para value. Should be a Alencia... Yeah, this move I didn't understand. All of my units had immunity, so I thought it was a Alencia S3, get defense buff onto his team, and then also strip all of these buffs on my team. I mean, I have defense buff across 3 characters. I have speed buff. It's so much value. Actually, just 2 characters. So I thought he was misplaying again. And, you know, he did output a good bit of damage onto our Schneel, but the moment I saw that defense break, game's over. Want to lay down everything, extra damage sends the Ray home, and now you just don't have enough tempo to catch up, and because your Ray put my team on Venom, Schneel gets the reset, fixed damage comes through, keep clicking, and this is where it goes really wrong. Schneel, since he's getting so many turns, gets another reset. And now he gets another S3! So when you win the draft really hard in Schneel versus Death Dealer Ray, your opponent gets put in some terrible ass scenarios. Green Senya never gets to pop off, Schneel wins the game, and oh yeah, this is the match I hit Emperor off the first time. And I think this is going to be the third and last match we look at. You know, we do spend a good amount of time going over the draft and the matches. So, you know, guys, let me know in the comments if going deeper like this is the type of content you want, or it's more like, man, shut the fuck up. We just want to see what the build is, how the characters play. All right, let me know. So, my opponent here, this is a lot more convincing of a draft this time. He bans the Luna, and he bans a Sea Phantom Poly, and he has first pick, which means he gets Para, and I need to find a way to punish him. So, the fact that he banned 2 openers tells me he's not going to be cleaving me. And the main reason why that is, well, when you are fast, and you do a lot of damage, these characters that, you know, they don't defend, they don't hit back, they're just free food. So this tells me he's a really slow player. And if he's a really slow player, there's 2 things I have to do. 1, lock in the shoe, and 2, maybe pick up an Empyrean Illinev. Like, I need a tank, right? But I didn't really feel comfortable taking, like, a true mitigator knight here, so let's take Empyrean Illinev. Her passive gives her a lot of effective HP to her team, especially if your opponent plays any kind of penetration. Even if it's just on a penetration set on any of their characters. And on top of that, you can put up defensive buffs, you can cleanse, she CR pushes. She's just a very annoying character to deal with. My opponent here goes for Ambitious Tywin, which is just a really solid tank right now if you think you have to deal with debuffs, and the Death Dealer Ray on 3. I see that, and I still have my 3 open. You know I'm going to match a Schneel in here. Choux is just so good. So Schneel goes in here, and here's a pretty big thing. I see that I'm probably not going to be able to ban the Lone Wolf Peyra, right? He has a good amount of sufficient threat with his team. I'm going to pick up an Abyssal Euphine. The importance of the Abyssal Euphine here is literally just to cut the combat readiness. It almost doesn't matter if she hits. I don't even like Euphine into Ambitious Tywin, because she S1s, you attack down something, trigger the Tywin, he gets big angry, okay? You don't generally love that matchup. And now he needs to be able to finish up the draft, right? He's got support, tank, support. And this support is completely disabled by the Schneel pick. So he needs good damage dealers that could just run me over. I do have Abyssal Euphine, which is forced to attack in an AoE, which is kind of easy food for a Navy Captain Landy. So he locks in the Landy, and then he also locks in an Archdemon Shadow. Archdemon Shadow, not a bad character, especially if you're on a counterattack set. And if he seals the Schneel, God, that's such a mouthful to say. I'm gonna have a really bad time. If I let the Archdemon through, Seal goes through, Raid can just run me over like a train. Can't have that going. So what I'm gonna do here is drop a support that can put up immunity buff, which helps me fight the Ambitious Tywin. It's good versus the defense breaks from the Peyra, and if I have to, you know, I want to make him think that he gets to play the Archdemon Shadow. Once again, guys, decide on what you're banning first as the second pick player, and then pick your character, right? I still have 2 good units. I'm gonna ban this. This is more honest. He bans my hand guy. Let's watch the match. Okay, one important thing to take note of. If you notice nothing else, notice that the Peyra is on Bastion of Hope, which means he is playing an effect resistance build. Do not have to be fast in order to play this character. There is no better time to play aggressive compositions than now.
Life or death.
Right? He even lands the defense break on me. That is so gross. Thankfully, Ray can't really do anything. He can't take advantage of that defense break. Sweet Miracle cleanses that right through. And you'll notice that even with the swift attack, he starts kind of low on the CR bar. And now I'm just going to start running train on the Landy because, well, I don't really want to hit his tank. I'm not going to hit his 50% evasion, 70% evasion unit now. And the Ray is kind of useless for as long as Schneel is alive. So the Landy becomes public enemy number 1. So we're just going to pour everything and just try to hurt the Landy. I am, however, going to save my Empyrean Illinav's Cleanse. I'm tanky enough, and I have enough of an HP advantage to where I don't need it. You know, he's getting kind of desperate, so he needs to press the Ambitious Tywin S3. And now, I can kind of go crazy, right? Because now, even if I give him Enrage, he's not going to do much. Right? We finally proc an Elberus. That's the AoE. It should be procking Elberus. Right? That's kind of huge. I cleansed the stun on the Urban Shadow Choux. And now Empyrean Illinav just gets to go wild. Rip that into the Landy. She's almost dead, right? This is where she anti-crits. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? And she's gonna salvo back a little bit of HP. Hate to see it, but whatever. Gives Illinav a lot of extra combat readiness. You know, when I get that turn back, you see me with souls here, we're just gonna soul burn it in. Again, he's in a desperate scenario. Death Dealer Ray has to press S3, right? Puts every character to sleep, but Schneel says no.
Worry not. The doctor is in.
So when your opponent goes into a draft like this, where, you know, support, tank, and they're too scared to pick carries, just all in their carry. If you find yourself in a position where you could kill the carry, all in her, right? She even gets a cheeky dual attack there, but Euphine Elbrises sends her right home. Okay, guys, I know I said that's the last one, but I'll send you guys home with one bonus, because there's one more build I really want to feature in a video, and let's let this one play out, but this is how the draft goes. He goes first pick Peyra, I go Poly Choux, right? This doesn't change. He goes Ray into Selene. Selene is kind of scary here, because as much as I like playing Schneel on 3 versus the Death Dealer Ray pick, as you guys know I do, I love that unit here. when he presses the Ray S3, Schneel goes, that's going to activate the Selene. And you guys already saw how much damage a green Selene does. So I have to get a little bit creative here, right? The Selene is going to be able to pick off a unit, except my Blood Moon Haste. So if the Selene kills anything that's not Blood Moon Haste, the Haste just runs him over. And if the Selene goes into the Blood Moon Haste, she's not going to kill him, because I'll show you guys the build in a second. You'll see exactly why. He's going to pick up Blue Crow here. He wants to mitigate as much damage as possible, and that already tells me one thing. He is probably going to ban the Urban Shadow Shoe. And this is a telegraph where you don't really want to do this very often, because that tells me I should just ban your Crow and I shouldn't have any problems, right? When you kind of decide, okay, I have to ban this because I want to play this, don't do that. If you really need a mitigator here, pick something that's not going to just be free value for the Urban Shadow Shoe. Now, I think last pick here, we had a couple of ways to go about it. We can go Empyrean Illanav and still be able to beat up the Crow, but he also locks in the Tori at the same time. And Tori is a high tempo DPS, especially when the opponent lacks damage. And, well, that's another sign I know he's probably going to ban my shoe. So here, I just need a good generic DPS. I know I probably want to leave the Tori in, and let's ban the Crow, right? That opens us up. We're going to be able to pick Abyssal Eufiend, right? Usually Eufiend to Crow's a little bit scary. You eat a horse, you might die. So let's ban the Crow. Eufiend comes out. She's going to be able to hold the combat readiness. I'm an Elbrus Ritual Sword, so if I attack, he has no knights. It's a lot of damage into Tori, and if I ever hit the Selene out of her stealth, it's going to be a lot of damage into the Selene, even through evade. Let's see if that pans out. We take first turn here. Again, we're going second. And as you guys can see, most of these games, as an aggro to standard player, I don't mind going second, because he can't really stop my opener from doing what they do best. Right? Because my poly is stealth, and his units don't really connect that well into my team. So, the process here is super simple. I got to keep Blood Moon Haste in the draft, which means I have no fear of pressing my S3 into the Green Selene. Green Selene, oh! Got literally the best target possible. Hits my Eufiend out of stealth, and, you know, I'm not messing around. I'm scared, right? So I'm going to press Schneel S3, get that defense buff back. So he now has 2 attacks to kill my haste, and then finish off my Eufiend, right? Because he can't kill the Eufiend first. That's just not possible. With 2 buffs, he procs the Cascade, so 40% proc rate. He gets pretty lucky this game, too. And he's going to go on the Schneel, which, you know, give him an NT. My Schneel might not be as tanky as the haste, but it's good enough. Right, and the Selene doesn't go before the Ray. That's the important part. If the Selene got to go before the Ray, he kills Schneel, Ray presses S3, S2, I'm actually in a spot. And now he all-ins the haste. But watch what happens. Yeah, nothing. And then one Elbrus proc later, like, the moment that Elbrus procced, the game is already over. Because it's too much damage, he can't recover from this. You know, your Selene is already losing too much HP, your Tori gets flushed out, your Selene is flushed out, and now, one more attack, game's done.
Worry not, the doctor is in.
So even if they ban your Urban Shadow Shoe, there are a lot of ways to manipulate your team such that you can always be in a winning position. Because we done our scouting, you know, we watched the first 2 picks. We were paying attention to our pre-bans. There was no way he was going to be able to cleave us when they banned the BBK. That's how you know you can very comfortably pull these units out. Oh my god. I've been playing this build with a Schneel missing a sword! Oh my god. Okay, well guys, so the Schneel is supposed to be a lot tankier. I don't know how or why or when this happened, but I guess I've just been missing a fucking sword this entire time. You know, don't mind me. I'm just here to casually hit Emperor with units missing gear. But this is what he's supposed to look like. And, you know, obviously we had our guest feature, Blood Moon Haste. This is a build that's started by European legend player KHM. Base speed, all bulk, all HP. I really like this build. If you guys want, let me know if you want me to make the next video about him, or maybe make the next video, I don't know, about like Tori A. Ross. There are a couple of pretty demonic techs legend players have been spamming, you know, up in the high ranks of legend. This is one of those ones where at first I thought, you know, you're not speed tuned to anything. He's too slow. He's never going to get a turn, but no. This Blood Moon Haste build is so good. He's basically a tank, right? He passively aggroes all the enemy units onto him, and then he survives out of sheer merit of being so tanky with a Proof of Valor. And I think it's pretty easy to gear too, because it's base speed, and you just need 2 HP sets. And the gear score is not particularly high outside of, you know, 1 to 2 pieces. So yeah, this is one of my new favorite builds to play. Now, if you learned something from this video and you thought the video was helpful, feel free to give the video a like, subscribe if you want to see similar videos, and comment down below, you know, if you have any questions, or if you have your own experiences playing this composition. But I think that's going to be the video. Give you guys the build, how to play against it. Also, if you want to test out your knowledge of this build, and you're like, hey, maybe there's a tournament I can swindle some money out of. Well, this weekend, literally, as I release the video, this Saturday, US time, I'll be running a tournament with my buddy Divine, and we're going to have our boy guest starring, Vic Chung. He'll be with us, and we're going to be casting the matches over at twitch.tv Valky or twitch.tv Vic Chung. So if you guys want to practice, or if you guys want to win some money, I'll see you there. If, you know, you're not confident about it, but you want to see some crazy drafts go down, I will be linking this tournament sign-up link. You know, we have a prize pool down in the comments below. That being said, though, yeah, seriously, guys, let me know in the comments how you feel about this format, how you want to see it evolve, what other drafts you want to see. One of the things I kind of want to work on for this year. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. See ya.